Every great idea dreams of a bigger stage. But how do you actually take something that's a hit locally and turn it into a global phenomenon? Well, that's what we're digging into today. We're going to unpack the master plan for that epic journey, the global rollout.
I mean, that's the ultimate ambition, isn't it? To see your product, your service, your big idea connect with people not just down the street, but across oceans and cultures. It is a massive adventure. And believe me, like any great expedition, it all starts with this one powerful question.
And that right there is exactly what a global rollout plan is. It's so much more than just some boring document. Think of it as your treasure map, your strategic guide through totally unfamiliar territory. It's what makes sure you don't just wander around aimlessly, but that you actually conquer new ground. All right, so before we even think about setting sail, we have to know exactly where we're going. This first step, it's all about defining the quest itself. So let's get specific. What is a global rollout plan? Look, it's not about trying to plant a flag everywhere all at once. That's a recipe for disaster. The key words here are structured, phased approach. This is your blueprint for growing smart, making sure each step you take builds a super solid foundation for the next one. So your quest really begins by answering these three big questions. First, what's your purpose? Are you just dipping your toes in the water with a small test, or are you going all in with a full launch? Next, what's the target? Are we talking about one single product, or is your entire business going global? And finally, the duration. Is this a one-year sprint or more of a 5-year marathon? Getting these answers straight is going to define everything that comes next. Okay, so we've defined our destination. Now it's time to actually chart the path. A massive journey like this can feel, well, pretty overwhelming. So the key is to break it down into 4 manageable phases. You always start with phase 1, reconnaissance. You're scouting the terrain, seeing what's out there. Then in phase 2, you start building alliances and getting all your paperwork in order. Super important. Phase 3 is like your dress rehearsal, a smaller test to iron out all the kinks. And only then, once you've done all that, do you move to phase 4 and commit to the full-scale expansion. See how each step methodically makes the next one less risky? That's the whole idea. Let's be real, no epic quest is a solo mission. You're going to need a crew of specialists, kind of like a fellowship of experts, where every single person has a critical role to play in making this whole thing come to life. Seriously, think of your team as specialized adventurers. Your marketing folks, they're the diplomats, figuring out how to adapt your message for totally new cultures. Operations, they're the engineers, making sure your supply chain is rock solid. HR finds your local champions on the ground, legal helps you navigate all the tricky local rules, and tech builds the digital roads you'll travel on. Your success literally depends on every one of these teams working together perfectly. Every expedition needs funding, that's your treasure. And you absolutely need a way to keep score, to know if you're actually winning. That's where the budget and the metrics come in. Now check this out. Notice how the investment gets bigger as you go? It totally makes sense. You spend a smaller amount, just 10%, on that initial research. Then, as you get more serious with legal setup and a pilot, the budget grows. The biggest chunk, 40%, is saved for that full-scale rollout, for when you're confident and really ready to hit the gas. But how do you really know if you're winning over hearts and minds? Well, the most direct, honest measure of success is this. Are people actually using your product? The number of customers you acquire is the clearest signal you can get that your strategy is actually working in a new market. But hey, it's not the only metric. We also track how well we complete each market entry, how fast we can do it, that's our time to market, and of course, the return we get on our investment in each new place. This is how you know if the whole quest is actually paying off. Look, no great journey is without its dangers. A smart leader doesn't just hope for a smooth ride, they prepare for a rough one. This next part is all about spotting those dangers before they find you. So, here's the crucial point. For every potential dragon you might face, you have to forge a shield ahead of time. If you run into market delays, what's your backup plan? If your logistics fall apart, what's your contingency? Thinking about this stuff beforehand, that's the shield that protects your entire mission. And to keep this whole expedition on track, you need a simple command structure. That means regular check-ins to look at the map, a clear leader who can make the tough calls, and a simple reporting system so everyone knows what's going on. This isn't about creating bureaucracy. It's the discipline that makes sure you actually reach your destination. And that brings us to the ultimate question. This is the final check you have to keep coming back to over and over again. Is your ambition aligned with reality?
Is your map still leading you to the right treasure? Answering this question honestly, that is the absolute key to turning a global dream into a global reality.